Alright, how's it going, everybody? Today we're going to talk about crucibles. So, when you get into GT6, one of the first things you're going to do after getting around the stuff to keep yourself alive and, the normal early Minecraft stuff, and after you find some copper and some tin to make you some bronze, so you make your first burning box. There's 3 videos about doing just that, which I'll put up here in the corner thingy. The next thing you're going to want to do is make a crucible. So this will be the first crucible you will make. It's a ceramic crucible. It can handle 2500 Kelvin, and it is simply made out of hardened clay. Now, for anybody that did not know, you can, it's very dangerous, but you can melt clay in a crucible. But clay is very low density, so therefore it does not take a whole lot to heat it up. So therefore it will go from the 2000 it needs to melt to the 2500 that's needed to melt down the crucible rather quickly. So be very careful. And you can save yourself on clay because a clay plate, which if I can get one, there we go, a clay plate is only 1 ceramic versus a hardened clay is 4 ceramic. So 1 clay ball to 1 clay plate versus 4 clay balls to 4 clay plates, or to 1 hardened clay. So you can go from making a crucible that costs 7, where if you're using hardened clay, you're talking 4 times 7, so 28 clay balls. But in the early game, you'll have to make the hardened clay to do it. You will also need a mold. You will probably make many molds. You can chisel these molds into different shapes. This here is a pickaxe mold. You can make one for most every tool. There is a book that will show you how to do so. If anybody would like me to make a video flipping through the book to show the different shapes for a reference thing, let me know in the comments or in Discord, and I will do so. There's a cheaty thing on Wikipedia you can look at, and you can kill villager zombies to get a book drop and hopefully get the Crucible book. It's a blue GregTech book with the bronze emblem on it. And pro tip, those bronze emeralds are actually 1 unit of bronze or a quarter of a unit of bronze. So you can actually smelt those books down for the bronze. Because, well, the zombies drop a lot of them, you'll get a lot of them. You can also find them in the GregTech dungeons as loot, especially if you have a library. You will have tons of them. Alright, so moving on, your next crucible. Now, so you understand, when I say your next crucible, this does not have to be the next crucible you make. You can, in fact, upgrade to a steel crucible, which will give you 2557 Kelvin, but that's only 57 more. You can also go to stainless steel, which will be worse. You can go to meteoric iron, which is 2513, which is not much better. And there's also a vanadium one that is 2728, which is better. Vanadium being a little bit harder to come by now because vanadium dust comes from vanadium pentoxide. Vanadium pentoxide has only like a 10% chance in a centrifuge from black sand. So the vanadium crucible is much more difficult to get now, where the one I suggest is a meteoric steel crucible, which just is made by these little meteorites that you'll be picking up on the ground while looking for other ores. There's a random chance that you will get flint or a meteorite when you pick them up. For anybody that doesn't know, which you should, they will look like this on the ground, representative of a rock color. Here it'll look like whatever rock I'm placing it on. But each one of these are a quarter of a meteoric iron. And we did a stream here about a week ago that shows making meteoric iron into meteoric steel. You'll need the regular steel production. So again, up in the corner, if you don't know how to make steel in the new GT6 way, I'll leave a video for that up there as well. But you just make it like you do regular steel. Meteorites melt down at 2011, and you'll see if we go in here to NEI that they combine with air, regular steel smelting thing, at 2246 and become meteoric steel. So you will need 48 of these meteorites to make one crucible and one mold. And that's what you're going to need to upgrade. Now, so you know, the ceramic crucible's density is only 687 kilograms, which the meteoric steel is 6,124. So you're talking almost a tenth of the density for this one versus this one. So this should still be your main crucible, because when you're heating a crucible, it takes in account the crucible and the contents of it. So it takes longer to heat up a meteoric steel than it does a ceramic. Ceramic, I do believe, is the best for density wise. They will heat up the fastest, take the least amount of fuel. Meteoric steel is bad, but I don't believe it is the worst. Tungsten is probably the worst at 14,972. Maybe adamantium's worse. No, actually that's only 10,388. So tungsten is the worst. So after you get your 48 meteorites and your steel, we did this on a stream not too long ago, so you can check that out. We actually made all of these in that stream. Next, you'll want to go to niobium. Now again, this is not a hard and fast rule, but going from meteoric steel, which if you look, it says 2807 is its meltdown point, where niobium needs 2750 for melting. That's not the biggest threshold. You will get really close, so you'll want to have liquid fuel to do this, or solid fuel like sticks or nuggets of lignite coal, or something really small that has very low burn value so you can turn it off rather quickly. But there are a few other ones that are a little bit better than meteoric steel. You can do chromium, but that's a little lower. There's molybdenum, but that would be the next one past this. There are some other modded ones that you can do. But niobium should be your next main step. This is, like I said, this is my suggestion. There is no linear line for niobium and tantalum. Luckily, they come in tantalite ore. So if we look at tantalite ore here, and you go to the sluice, you will see that you get tantalum ore and niobium ore from washing it, along with some pyrolusite, which you will need for stainless steel. So tantalite is a great ore. It's very hard to see when you mine it, but it is a great ore for the stuff that you get out of it. Very important for Crucible upgrades. So you wash a bunch of tantalite, you get your niobium, you make you a niobium crucible and mold. Again, if we go back to the crucible page here, niobium is 6,665 for its weight. So again, it is very heavy. So you should not be using it as your main crucible unless you've got fuel to waste. You should still be using ceramic unless you need niobium. And finally comes the one that is one stage from tungsten. This is what you need to melt tungsten in, is tantalum. It melts at 3290, where the niobium will melt down at 3437. So not as close as the niobium one in the meteoric steel. Again, there's probably other ones that you could make, but like you can make an osmium one, but that stuff's really hard to get a hold of. But with the tantalum, you can now cook tungsten, which needs 3695, and this melts down at 4112. So, and tungsten being the crucible you need to make your first smelter, this will be the last one you will probably make that you will actually have in your base to use. Except, I would suggest, once you actually get a tungsten crucible, that you make the new tantalum hafnium carbide crucible, because it has a better melting down temperature at 5328 than even tungsten at 4618. It also is only 7,098 in weight versus the 14,972 of tungsten. So even though it is very heavy compared to the ceramic, you know, it is again almost 10 times worse in weight. It is a really good overall, you can do anything in it crucible. And also, you will notice that adamantium melts at 5325, and this one melts down at 5328. So it is your doorway to adamantium when you get that far. But what we were worried about for this video is just getting to the tungsten, because that's the main one that people need to get to so they can make tungsten. Now, I don't make and use a tungsten crucible. I use my tantalum crucible for my tungsten processing and cooking up tungsten, or a smelter when it gets to that point. Um, because of the fact that there's, 3,000 or, 12,000 versus 14,000. It's bad, but it's not as bad as tungsten. So as soon as I get a tungsten crucible, then I will go for a tantalum hafnium crucible, and then I won't be using my tantalum one anymore either. But we've got to get that tungsten one before we can make the, because you'll see that it needs 4263 to mix your carbon, your hafnium, and your tantalum together. But with that being said, this is your lineup of crucibles from early game to tungsten right here. If you have any questions, let me know, leave it in the comments, or stop by our Discord, and I or one of our supporters that are in there will be glad to answer your questions. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one, and hit those buttons and do those things, folks.